Good morning, everybody, from a very cloudy and drizzly day in Surrey, in London. Welcome to another Chats with Children. I'm delighted to be joined by my good friends at CCI-T, and we're going to be talking all about closed container inspection testing, or CCI testing for sure. And I'm delighted to be joined by Tony Stauffer, who is CEO of CCI-T, Tatiana Cimental, who is the CCI-T project manager, and George Reinecker, who's a regional sales manager. So, and they're all smiling because I've got their names right, because I did ask them beforehand. So first of all, the sunshine looks like it's shining where you are, certainly, Tatiana and Tony. I don't know about you, George, because you're obviously in a more...
Yeah, we have actually a great full day here in Switzerland. I have to say that is very unique, not very usual. Like lately, we didn't have too good of a weather.
All right. And George, I understand you're calling in from Bremer. Is that correct?
Yes, here it's raining cats and dogs. Maybe you know this a little bit.
Well, it's not quite cats and dogs here, but it might be mice and rats, though. So it's smaller, but it's still fun. Right. Well, lovely to meet you all, and thank you for joining me today. So today, as I said, we're going to be talking about CCI. But before we do that, perhaps, Tony, you could give a bit of a background on CCI-T and its history, and because obviously you founded the company. Why did you start the business in the first place?
Well, I started the business of PTI in the US in the 80s. And then after 30 years, we felt the strong need to have a technology base for CCI-T, where we can transfer the know-how that we have developed in the US to the European market. And we needed a closer proximity to our customers. And that's the reason we felt, myself being Swiss, we felt Switzerland was in the center of Europe, and that was a great place to start this. And we have a lot of very technical people here in Switzerland. That is a good resource to really support a very technical issue for our customers here in Europe.
Brilliant. Right. And so let's talk a bit more about CCI. But before do that, how has the pandemic impacted you as a business, both in terms of how you work and also how you support your customers?
Well, this do you want to
No, you go ahead, Tatiana.
So, well, it has been a positive externality. However, it's really a challenging time. Before the COVID, we have already trying to be and doing some services remotely, but then we were kind of forced to be remotely 100% for a customer. So now we can provide some services like installation and client support for doubts or technical support, technical doubts, and we are 100% equipped to do this remotely. It takes more time. We need to start from zero. We really need to train our customer from 0 to 10. But now I think we are ready to provide most of our service and installation and technical support via remotely.
Right. And George, I mean, in Germany, is it any different to what it's like in Switzerland, or is it the same? Do customers expect the same sort of service?
In Germany is quite similar. Sure, as all the customers also in Germany, they expect excellent service, and immediate service. And due to this COVID crisis, this cannot always happen. So there is everywhere where we go is a good understanding. We have to be flexible and to deal with this dynamic situation.
I mean, one question does come to mind because Tony, you mentioned to me obviously that you originally started in the States and moved over to Europe. Is there a difference between customers in the US and North America and Europe? Because obviously Europe is so diverse with the different nationalities as well.
Yeah, yes, there is a difference, and it can be actually quite large. In Europe, we have a lot of very older, very large companies, pharmaceutical companies, that are a little bit maybe more difficult to adapt to new changes. It is maybe a little bit slower. And important is also that we are really close to our customers here to better understand it. When you're over across the big pond, it's sometimes a bit more difficult to really see what is needed locally. And that's why we have here, in our case, we're 3 people here and we have different nationalities. You're German, Tatiana is Mexican, with a lot of experience in that CCI-T, and myself being Swiss, but having worked 30 years in the US, makes me, I think, uniquely suited to understand a little bit the differences between these different continents as well.
And Rizwan, one thing that makes you really unique is like we are different nationality working, and we try to understand because everyone has a different mindset. So working with Germans, you can say that it's different, and we really try to understand the challenge that our customer has because it's different. Every industry and every country want the things in a different way. So we really listen to the customer and try to provide. That's why we migrate to remotely support, because we wanted to be close to the customer. We wanted to really provide the best solution. As you said, we like quality.
Well, and it's funny. The more I was thinking about it, I was thinking there is obviously such a huge difference between all the different countries. You just have a look at the COVID response that's going on right now between UK and Germany and France and Sweden, for example. Every country is doing their own unique response, aren't they, to this? So, and obviously it must be a challenge then when you're trying to talk to customers and support them during this difficult time. So expectations will be different as well, won't they, each one?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk more about close. I've got it all wrong now. Haven't I? What are we talking against CCI? So let's talk about CCI. What actually is it, and why is it so important to test it?
Well, maybe I can tackle that question. CCI has become really was always around, but in the last 30 years, and that was a little bit my history too, the technology has changed. We have, in the 80s, we got into computer age, we got into digital information. And before, everything was more done in a visual case, in a more probabilistic case. It depended on the day of time, the type of operator that was there, was it Saturday or Sunday, and the results could all be different. And there was a search to find technical methods that will produce data that are in function of the integrity of packages. And that's what we were looking for. And this is the reason we have then built several technology platforms that includes vacuum, high voltage, airborne ultrasound, and newly also then helium, to serve our customers from the very early stages in their process to the GMP production lines that where products are released to the market that have to conform to quality standards that are absolutely second to none.
Right. Well, you mentioned obviously a number of different techniques there for CCI testing. So again, there are obviously lots of different types of containers being used within pharma. So what techniques are used for what type of packaging?
That very much depends on the application. That's the reason too. Our location here in Europe, in the center of Europe, is so important for our customer. It's not just the technology or the platform that is being used. It's really how these platforms are applied. How do we develop and optimize test methods that can be validated and that can then be transferred one-to-one around the globe. If a plant develops something for a 6R vial here in Europe, they have maybe a 6R vial also in the US or in China. And they could then use with our technology platform and our test methods the same and apply the same methods one-to-one. And that is absolutely key today. And that did not exist before.
Right. George, do you want to add anything to that?
So when we get in touch with clients, and we usually have here in Europe quite often, I would say 50% of the cases, we are talking to clients who know probabilistic testing. That means blood dye, microbial ingress, and so on. And they are happy with this. And due to, let's say, the move that is in the market, a little bit of a push from the authorities and the Annex 1, that the FDA wants sooner or later, better earlier than later, to see data. They have to think about deterministic CCI testing. And it is what we hear and see and feel. It is a fact there is not enough knowledge in the market about deterministic CCI testing, and both PTI and CCIT are since decades experts. They have totally focused on this. So we are a good and excellent source to convey this message. We see ourselves, we are totally in service. We have to train the market. We have to teach the people. They have to trust us. And this only works with a certain sense of integrity. This is what our business is about. Container closure integrity and combined with data integrity. PTI developed a great tool called Ethos that provides an audit trail and that guarantees the data integrity. And then they want to understand, okay, we understand what it is, the sensitivity of the systems, the leak sizes that can be detected or not detected based on the various applications we have. That is a little bit the difficulty in the market. There is not this so-called, we hear it quite often, this silver bullet. People are looking for this single test method. This is not available. And that's a challenge for both, for our clients and also for us to find the right solution to convince the guys and to trigger then this internal processes that they take their right decision. We only support as good as we can. And what we do is we try to make it as easy and convenient as possible for our clients, not only to understand, but to support them to prepare the validation. So IQ, OQ is somehow on our side. The PQ, the real validation in the production, is in the responsibility of the clients. But up to that point, we give 100% support and they can rely on us.
Fine. Okay.
For example, Rizwan, Jurg have said something super interesting. When the customer calls and say, I need this, I think when us as a sales, we try to guide them to understand their own product. You know, we can say, okay, it's powder. What is the kind of the packaging? It's a glass, it's plastic, it's a syringe, it's a vial. And all these things, it guides you through the method selection. If it will be a vacuum decay, it will be a high voltage. And we also need to really be honest and say the limitations and the strengths of the method that we can offer them. So okay, you have powder and you have in a vial, we can use vacuum, or if you have a protein solution, you can use the high voltage. But some customers say, no, I want vacuum, and say, then you need to explain that with vacuum decay you have certain limitations, and you might not find certain leak size. So we have trying to give them the support, and we have some white papers and some research that we share with them in order to they understand better what they need. But it's the customer who has the last word. But we try to guide them through really an honest process, and also that they understand their own product.
Brilliant. Well, that actually leads quite nicely to my next question, which is, what are the most common, and I don't want you to go through all of them, so I know there's lots of issues that people do, but maybe if we pick two, what are the two most common questions you get asked then by your customers around CCI and the problems that they face? Are there two which come up quite regularly?
Well, we have a customer, and Tony, you can talk a little bit, but about toxic product. So toxic product is an issue because you don't, when you have a toxic product and you are being tested, you have a risk of contamination. So we have a project with some of our customers, and I think Tony can give you more insight
Yes,
about that.
Tatiana brings up a good point. We have toxic products. When you do leak detection, and you have a leak, you can of course pull that product out. You can contaminate the chamber, the environment, and there is maybe an operator nearby and so on. So it's important that we detect this very early without pulling product out of these samples, and we have developed methods just exactly to address this. And these methods really are based on very keen, good understanding of the physical properties, because we test always with physical principles, be that vacuum, be that high voltage, or be that airborne ultrasound. And we want to avoid spilling product out there and possibly cause a problem. And that is something we have developed. And this is based on the technology we have developed over the last 20 years.
Brilliant. And you mentioned toxicity. Are there any? Is there another issue which comes up quite regularly with your customers as well? I know there's lots of issues people can talk about,
Uh,
but is there any main ones?
Yes, one issue is always when we ask what leak would you like to find, they will say zero leak. And then we have to say it does not exist. Everything leaks. It's just a matter of definition how large that leak is. And that's usually then the limit we have to discuss. And that goes then also into regulatory questions is what does a regulatory agency like the FDA accept?
Sure.
And there are standards established in the industry where they say it has to be better than a blue dye test or a water test. And then as long as you can prove that with actual positive controls, then you can really pass this. Furthermore, we also comply whenever we can to regulatory standards, be it USP 1207 recommendations, be it an ASTM type of test method. And if you have that, then the customer is sort of on a solid foundation where he can go to a regulatory agency and says, I follow these principles. And that usually gets them through, particularly when he has reports and data integrity that he can provide.
Brilliant. So
Yeah.
this leads me on to now. Obviously, everyone is looking for a vaccine for COVID. So how can CCIT support the development of new vaccines?
We concentrate very much on the packages, and I have to say we have actually received a lot of orders. So COVID has actually increased our business in the US as well as starting now here in Europe. We are testing in Europe packages for COVID diagnostic test kits that were developed new this week by customers by our customers in the US. We also test Tyvek lidded syringe trays, syringes that will be used for the COVID type of test. So these customers prepare already the test methods for the production once a vaccine is developed. So they have everything in place and can apply it without delay and use our deterministic methods.
Brilliant. So here's a leading question. What makes you as a business unique in terms of the solutions you provide? Because obviously there are other companies who will provide CCI testing as well. So what makes you as a business unique, from your perspective?
Well, I tend to think we are really unique because we do have a lot of know-how, we do have a lot of experience, and we apply this with integrity. If we have a solution for the customer, we will provide, we will sell this. And there were moments where we do not have a solution, and we will say so too. And we will just say, sorry, what you want and the way you want to test it, it will not work. If you want that, I'm sorry, we can't provide a solution. And so it's very important to know what you can do, what works, but also what the limitation of a particular application is.
Right. Fantastic. George, Tatiana, would you like to add anything to that, or has Tony summed it up perfectly?
Tony summed it up perfectly. Although we we would like to add something. So I joined PTI and CCIT beginning of this year, 2020.
I know.
Although it is a small company, I must say, my experience, it is a fantastic company. Although they are so small, they are very innovative. They don't stop. They have developed unique technologies. Although something is known in the market for decades, like HVLD, they invented the microcurrent HVLD, and that sets CCIT and PTI apart from the rest of the market. And although vacuum decay is not a new sensation, there are various patents inside the VeriPack systems, that is PTI vacuum decay systems, that are unique. And this sets then, again, PTI and CCIT apart from the rest of the market. This is something, obviously, I love it. And the market is responding to these unique advantages very well.
And Tatiana, as you've been there a bit longer than George,
A little bit.
yeah, so would you agree with Tony then, what he was saying, and George?
Yeah, 100%. I think we have focus in provide solutions, and always our solutions are focus oriented to be repeatable, robustness, and reliable. I think Tony says the five. I only keep three in mind. But yeah, we try to provide these methods to our customer in order that they can feel comfortable what they are doing.
Great. Well, this leads on to my final question, which is looking ahead. How do you see CCIT developing in terms of techniques and technology?
Well, we use mainly the technologies here from PTI that have been developed by PTI, but there is always the technology base and then its application. And we here at CCIT focus particularly on the solutions. We're really a CCI solution provider to our customers. When a customer comes with a particular sample, we like to understand what it is, and then we develop the best test and most optimal test method for this application. And that is a very important step to really make sure that the customer gets a test method that can be validated and then also be transferred to other locations.
Brilliant.
That's becoming more and more important.
Brilliant. Well, if people want to know more about CCI testing and the business, how can they find out more information?
Well, you have our website that is available. It's CCIT.com. Then you have many things. It's a great website. You have a lot of info. You have the library there. You have their videos. You have our LPX robot, and I think it's a good source of information. You can also call us to the office. All the information is in our website.
Brilliant. Well, all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for your time. It's been really interesting learning more about CCI and obviously CCIT, the company as well. And all that's left to say, thank you very much for taking the time out. Enjoy the sun in Switzerland. I wish it comes over to Germany and also to the UK because it's still horrible and grey. So thank you for your time. I hope everybody who watched this finds that interesting and useful. And as Tatiana mentioned, if you want to know more, the link to the website is above the video, so you can click on that and find out more. Or if you've got any questions for Tony, Tatiana, or Georges, then by all means send them a message on LinkedIn or leave a comment below, because it'd be great to start a debate. If you agree or disagree with what they've said, put some comments below the video, and I'm sure they'll be happy to respond as well. So as always, thank you very much for your time, everybody, and stay well. And to all of you who've watched it, stay well and stay safe. And until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.